everyone, happy Sunday. It's been a little while since my official Facebook Live, but obviously I did that impromptu one, which I know a few of you have found. So thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just setting up so I can read your comments. There's people there. I can see there's a couple of you, so that's good. What I'm going to do today, as the title suggests, is go through the the paints and different ways of using them. So I did this a while ago on, well, it was just over a year ago now, on her Chanda, when it was her Chanda. And I used some of the spray bottles, and then ways to use it with texture paste and things like that. So lots of different ways of using it. And obviously using stamps with embossing powders and things like that, and then also onto fabric as well, or well, on sort of lacy ribbon and things like that. So I'm pretty much going to run through that again, because I realised that although I saved it on my Sky Planner, sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. Obviously some people didn't, so I thought I'd go through it again. And then I've found, or I had a play, and I've done some a couple of different Christmas cards, like really quick Christmas cards. So I thought I would show you that. Hi Sandrine. Australia. Hi Mandy. Hi Simon. Who else is there? Oh, can't see. Sarah, Mandy, Kathy, Carol, sorry, and Mum. Lovely, and Simon, of course. Okay, right, so let's get cracking. I've done the same thing, so I've cut out a load of tags to play with. I haven't done it on Bockingford though. I've done it on that watercolour card I showed you last time. So the Dale Rowney Aquafine Smooth, which is hot pressed. So I've done it on that one. So it will give the same effect. We want a watercolour card to give this effect on here. So we are going to start with right, actually I was going to start with we're not going to do the sprays first. We're going to do just using the paints on their own. So I've got my tile somewhere. There it is. Okay, so this is like a bathroom tile. Picked it up from B&Q. I think it was like £1. But it's great for mixing the paints. So if I just get so what I showed before was mixing them with ink pads. So I've got a versaacraft one there, but you can also do it with distress ink pads, you know, like your distress oxides and things like that, or any of your other colour ones you've got. Let me just grab a distress oxide. Alright, okay, so let's just do a couple of little blobs down here. Okay, so got a little bit of it's candied apple distress oxide there, and this was the versaacraft cherry pink. Okay, so we're going to mix these with a couple of different ones. So you can mix them obviously with any of the other colours you've got. So if you found that you didn't have many pink ink paints, you could I don't seem to have my white there. Where's my white gone? You can obviously mix up with whatever other ones you've got. So there's my white. Okay, so we're going to use white to start with. So I'm going to have a little blob of the white. And let's go for one of the glitters. Oh, a glitter that's actually got some glitter in it. So this is the silver shine. Okay, and then let's do one that would go with it. So a pink, or let's do a gold. A gold might be quite nice. So a pastel pale peach. That's quite a nice one. So sort of to show you mixing it with a different colour. Okay, so I've got a paintbrush and I've got my water pot here, which should have got clean water, but it will be okay. Okay, so just wetting my brush a little bit, and I'll take a little bit of the white and I'm going to mix that with the candied apple there. So you can see it gets off, because the white is a, is it translucent? No, not translucent, it's the opposite of that one. I can't think what the word is at the moment, but you know what I mean. Because it's a dense colour, it will give you a dense, a non-see-through. Oh, my brain is not working this morning at all. So it will obviously hold the white. It is not transparent. I can't think what the blooming word is. Someone tell me what it is. Opaque. Thank you, Mum. My brain is not working today. Don't know why, which is not going to be very helpful. Right, but I'm also, so that was with the Distress Oxide, and then if I do the same thing with the, you can all see that on camera, yeah, with the versaacraft. Obviously it's a different pink, but you're going to get a similar sort of thing. So you might need, to get a more intense colour, you might need more of the ink pad of this one. The Distress Oxides have got a lot of pigment. So if I do that there. So that's just adding the white to it. So you can also obviously add the glitters. So if I get a bit of the glitter and some of the Distress Oxide, you can get a glittery tinge in there. Let me just show you that a bit closer. You'll be able to see that that's got a glitter in it. So it's great for obviously sort of add, you know, if you're painting something and you haven't quite got the right colour, you could add your glitter to anything that you've got, any of the other ink pads you've got, sort of thing. So that's quite nice. So I'll get and this is the silver one, but obviously there's the other glitters and they work just as well. So that's that one. And then the last one, let's mix it with a different colour. So this is, let's say, the pale peach. So with this one, it's going to make it like an orangey kind of colour. Should be quite nice, but it's obviously going to give us a nice pearlescent finish, because that's what we've added in. That pale peach has got the pearlescent in it. I will hold these up again in a second. It's just obviously once you get going with these, you get to grips with what it can do. And I'm sure you're going, oh, I could try that with that ink pad, and I could try that with that one, and whatever. So yeah, so that's with white. Once it dries, it'll obviously look different. This is with just adding the sparkle to it, and then this one's mixing it with another colour. So you can see you'll add the shimmer to whatever you do, because obviously the white, you don't get the shimmer in there. So you know, the pale peach, well, any of the pale ones are really good for that. I think there's like a what's it called, cornflower one, like a cornflower blue. That one's quite a nice one for those sort of things. So sort of quite a light colour depending on what ones you're trying to mix. So yeah, so that's those ones. So let me just clean that palette off. So I want to use it again for the next bit. Oh. Okay, so that's there. Clean my brush off. Right, so the next one is to use a stencil through it. Did I get the stencil out ready? No, apologies. Un momento, por favor, and all that. Nautical. I've only got one. It's the Pink Ink do like a dual stencil. Well, they do dual stencils. There it is. So the only one I've got is the seahorse one. But obviously this will work with other stencils you've got. It's just showing two different ways of using it. So they have, like, obviously this is dirty, like the background one, and then you get a more detailed one. So you layer them over the top. So let me just get my my stencil, my card even. Oh, running out of room already. Let me seal this water up before it goes everywhere. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to set the stencil up over the top there, and then I'm just going to use, not that masking tape obviously, some low tack tape to stick it down with, and I'm going to stick it down on the back. So once you line it up where you want it, just check, flip it over, and then just add your tape on the back. Obviously if you've got one of those make it stations with the magnets or something like that, that will work fine. So yeah, so we're happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to do sort of underwatery colours, I think. So we'll do, I quite like that one. So I've got the sea green luster and pastel cornflower, which is like blue. Okay, there, a bit. And I think I might add a green as well, so I've got a green apple. I've just literally lined up all my paints and all my sprays right in front of me, so I'm kind of just grabbing them as I need them, sort of thing. So we want some cut and dry foam for this. So we've seen this before. Now, if you don't have this, you can use, like the makeup sponges you can get pretty cheap and things like that. They all work, but you want this sort of foamy texture. So I've got one for each colour, which is nice here. So let's start with the blue first. So we're just going to put a little bit onto our sponge here. So we did this the other week with edging the card, but it works quite well through stencils as well. Now we're going to do it like you would do if you were using a distress ink or an ink pad or anything like that. So we're going to do it in sort of a circular motion. So I'm just going to do bits here and there, just to give us the illusion. But, and then get my next colour. So this lovely, forgotten what it is already, sea green. Going like this. So it doesn't matter if you go over what you've already done, but you just need to make sure, you know, the colours are going to blend together, sort of thing. So you want it to be, just want to make sure that your tag's covered. There we go. And then the last one I've got is the green. Hi Sue, who snuck in there? I didn't see that one. So I've got a little, oh, it's too much paint. Yeah, you only want a thin coating. This will dry reasonably quickly, the thinner coating you use, and you're only, you know, like sort of colouring it, you know, you're not applying paste yet, sort of thing, you know, it's just a coating of colour. So yeah, it doesn't look like much now, but when I peel this away, oh, there we go. I'll find somewhere clean to put that there. There we go. I hope you can see that. So on its own that looks really pretty, I think. And it just, you know, using 3 colours or even 2 colours will give you that nice definition, and that will work through with any stencils. Obviously I'm using a double layer one because I want to show the using the texture paste in a minute, but we're going to do, just going to dry it off just so that when I put my other stencil over the top it's not going to stick to it. Sure. And it also means that because these paints are permanent once heated, that will become permanent then. So almost there. Hi Magda. Obviously I know I'm showing the multi-surface paints, but this particular technique will work with your acrylic paints as well. Obviously with the multi-surface you get, like I say, once heated they're permanent. They work on fabric. You can do the same technique on fabric, and you can also, but you can use your, like your normal acrylics sort of thing to use this technique. That's absolutely fine. So let's get the other stencil in place, and then we can get our texture paste together. So it goes in there. Oh, line it up properly. It's quite difficult to see when I can't get over the top of it. Almost there. No, not quite there. I'm going to have to bear with me. It's shimmery paint and then shimmery lighting, and I can't see. There. Okay, we got it. Right, so like I said, we're going to add some texture paste. So let me get my texture paste. Whatever texture paste you've got, I've got quite an expensive one here, but it's any that you have, or you can even use the, I can open this, the pink ink fluffy stuff. That'll work quite well, because you can mix the paints with that as well. So I'm just going to get my spatula. So I want a little bit, because I'm not going to need too much to go over this, I wouldn't have thought. So just to put it on my palette there. Obviously you don't have to colour the texture paste, but it's just showing that you can. So sort of a little bit of pigment. I'm going for that sea green again because I quite like that one. It's sort of got a mix of a couple of colours in that. I quite like it. So I would say sort of ratio wise, depending on obviously how dark or whether you want the colour to be, but for this colour that I'm using at the moment, I would say that was 4 part texture paste, 1 part paint, something like that. So this is obviously giving us a nice green, greeny blue, like an aqua blue sort of colour there. So we're just going to spread that all over. Scrape off the excess as you go, and that will fill in the rest of the stencil. This is obviously when you want to make sure your stencil is well stuck down. I'm holding it down just to make sure at the same time, but because you don't want it to move. Now, as with any using texture paste, you can add in anything like over the top, which is quite fun sometimes. So I don't know if you've ever tried using embossing powders over the top of it, and you can either let it dry itself, you let it dry completely and then you heat it, and that will give you the embossing powder effect on the top, or if you heat it while it's still wet it will bubble, and sometimes that's quite good for some mixed media pieces you might be doing, you know, where you want it to look sort of antique-y or something like that. Sometimes that works really well for that. So completely up to you. That's my stencil off. I'm just going to try not to get my fingers in everything. Take the tape off. The methy one. And there you go. You can see that. So you can see you've got the shimmer and the texture paste, and it just adds that extra dimension to what you've done. So obviously you didn't have to do the whole thing in one colour. You could have done some of it in green. You could have picked out little bits, however you wanted to do it. But yeah, quite fun, I think. Hi Liz, hi Josephine. Cool. Okay, so we'll leave that to dry, and then I'll also show you an extra bit on the end that we can use the paints like a wax, which is quite fun. So let me put that somewhere to dry while we're doing this. So did anyone, I mean, I don't know obviously how many of you come over from the Pink Ink page, but did any of you see this when I did it the first time on her Chanda? It'd be interesting to see if anyone remembers seeing it. I know it was a year ago, but just, yeah. Oh, I know some people go, I didn't know you were on there. Found me on there. So let's get some other scraps of paper. Right, okay, so the next one, we did the texture paste. Yeah, we'll do the dry brush in a minute. So let's do some sprays now, shall we? Okay, so I don't need my palette anymore for the spray, so I can put that to one side. Try not to knock everything else over. Okay, so we've got so for the spray bottles, I know I keep saying about how to make them, so I thought I'd make one up while I'm here, and then you can actually see what ratio I use and everything. So this is, I think it's like a 30ml bottle, something like that. Oh, it will tell me on the bottom, 40ml, sorry. And I bought like 10 bottles of these off Amazon or something. So yeah, it was quite good. So I'm going to make up a yellow because I do use a yellow quite a bit. So I've got my Pink Ink paint. If you ever find they don't come out straight away, just give it one sort of whack, as it were, you know, one shake. Don't need to shake it loads, just one shake just to get it to the top of the nozzle, and then you can your paint should come out, but make sure the lid's on when you do that, or the paint will come out all over your desk. Right, okay, so you can about see what I've got in there. So it's sort of a bit more than a tablespoon, but not a bit more than a teaspoon, but not quite a tablespoon, if that makes sense. So it's just enough to fill the bottom, you know, sort of half a finger depth, if that makes sense. So you can see what I mean by filling it up. So, and then the rest of it you're going to fill with water. Well, this is where it's going to go everywhere, isn't it? I know it is. Let me get my spray tray out, and then I know that it's not going to go all over the place when I do it. This water was originally for me to drink, but I haven't touched it with paint yet, so I'm just going to fill that up there. Okay. Put that back in, bottle thing back in. Okay, so I filled it up to about there with water. Let me just put my water bottle back. And then we're going to give it a shake. Basically, we want to get all that paint off the sides. That's what we're trying to do. You could roll it between your roll it between your hands, anything like that will get it off. It will eventually move round. Sort of the more you use the paint and everything. But, I think we've got a good mix there. So let's get our spray taste. So this is just like packaging, you know, like recycled packaging. That's what I've used. Plastic tray, you can use cardboard box. Well, you don't have to use anything, but you will make a mess. Or a towel I've seen people use. So yeah, but now it will give you a spray, which obviously you can add in. Let's add in Atlantic Blue. That was the Summer Sunrise Luster, by the way, that I was using there. So I'm just going to add in another colour there. So that was Atlantic Blue. No, it doesn't mould, Sandrine, at all. Like I say, I made these sprays up over a year ago. And I just, because it's sealed, I guess, isn't it? So yeah, it's as long as you keep your caps, that's probably a better thing. But I haven't found it. I mean, you know, which ones have I made up and then not really used? That would have been that one. Yeah, warm hazels, the warm hazel one. So I've barely used that because obviously, as you can see, the colour didn't quite look very nice when I did it. Let me just get a bit of scrap paper. I'll show you what colour that shows. So I wouldn't recommend doing these sprays for, yeah, see it does clog if you don't use them, but I found a way of cleaning it the other day. So obviously make sure your nozzle is clear, because you don't want the paints to settle in the bottom, because they'll get stuck in the tube. But I suppose that's the thing. If you use them all the time, they won't clog, but if you don't, the paint will stick in the in that bit. So what you need to do is get some warm water or hot water and rinse it through, and that will come out, and then you can reuse them. That's absolutely fine. Let's do. I had the pastel cornflower one. Let's give that one a go. Yeah, so you barely get a nice shimmer with that one, but you barely get any colour. So it's quite a pastel hue on that one. But yeah, no, I haven't found them go mouldy. It was just, like I say, the paint, if you're not using them all the time, the paint gets stuck in the tube. But just some warm water will clear that out. That's a really nice colour, that turquoise. I do like them. So yeah, so let's just leave that in there for the minute. Okay, so we've obviously sprayed this with the two colours. It is still wet. So one of the other things that I did was, there's two different ways you can do this a bit. You can wait till that dries and then flick it with another colour, or you can do it while it's still wet and then it will spread. So I've got the Aubergine Dazzle, and I'm gonna use the pipe, as it were, and I'm going to flick from there. So it's not a spray, it's a flick. And this will continue to seep on the original card because the card's wet. So it's quite a cool effect, I think. And obviously that will work with like your whites and blacks and things like that if you've got that. You can also obviously go back in with your original colours that you had as well to add some if you wanted some extras. Oh, it's looking so pretty. And obviously, although I'm doing these, which you're probably all thinking, oh, it's just backgrounds. That's what it is. It isn't always backgrounds, because you could do this and then you can stamp onto it and cut it out and use that on something else. So if you've got flowers, or you know, some of the rose stamps or things like that, and you can, this all pre-colours it for you. You haven't even got to do anything. You know, it's already on there. So that's quite nice, I think. Yeah, just have a play, cut yourself out some. These tags, by the way, the size of them, if you're wondering, are, I did it in inches, so 6 1/4 inches by 3 1/8, is that 1/8? Yeah, 3 1/8. And I've got a little corner thing that cuts them off, and then obviously the single punch sort of thing. So, but you can, you know, if you wanted to have a play, sometimes it's a good way, because a bit like the ATC cards, you know, they do, like the little ones, to just have a play with bits and bobs. And what you'll find is, doing the wet on wet technique, you'll end up sometimes with things like this. They're sort of really nice. Leave them to dry naturally so it disperses. Obviously if you speed up the drying, you know, it's completely up to you how you want to do it. So, like I say, I'm going to leave that to dry. I'm going to leave that on one side. Let me find a bit of paper to put it on. Oh, I've got paper under there. I didn't think about leaving stuff to dry in here today. I did not put that to one, don't think about that. Okay, so the other thing I did with the sprays is to spray a background and then use bubble wrap on it, which I didn't get any bubble wrap out, did I? Because this is me, and I forget things like this. So bear with me while I get an envelope. Oh, I've got an envelope here, yeah. Reused, you know what it's like. Just, oh, that's bubble wrap within it. Quite a way. I'd written it down and then hadn't got any bubble wrap ready, which was clever, wasn't it? Oh, there we go. Got some. Right, so basically you want the bubble wrap to be as big as so you can do it in one go. That's what we want to do. Yeah. So this is just obviously out of one of those padded envelopes. So let's do, I'm going to do blue and purple, I think. So blue on there. So it's Atlantic Blue and the Aubergine Dazzle. Okay, really nice colours those. Let's add a bit of the sea green in there just for some fun. Little spray. No clog. Okay, right, so we've got these two colours and we're going to just put our bubble wrap, lay it over and just press it down. Now what this is going to do is create pools of paint on our tag. So just want to leave it there just so that it can do its little shapes that it's going to do, and then peel it back. And this is one of those effects you won't see a lot of it until it's dry, and then it will give these little shimmer circles sort of thing. So we're just going to put that again to one side to dry, and then get a plain bit of card again, and I'm going to use the what I had on the bubble wrap to create another background. Give it a good smush down. That's all on there, and then that's the second background. So you can make 2 for 1 on this one. Get rid of that bit there. You get quite a cool effect on there. Obviously you get the shimmer where it pools and things, so that's the extra bit on there. Okay, and then I won't show this one, but because I did it literally not 2 weeks ago. You know, where I used stamped and then embossed with white embossing powder, and then used a baby wipe to clear it off. If you wanted to see how that's done, then have a look at the last video. I want to show you that one, but it seems a bit silly to repeat that one. I've already done it. But basically what I did with this one when I did it on there is this one is stamped with Versamark and then white embossing powder. This one's stamped with Versamark and clear embossing powder, so this will still show the card colour underneath. And this one I stamped with a versaacraft and then clear embossing powder, so you can show the colour, the original colour that you stamped in underneath. So all 3 of those effects, and then, like I say, sprayed and then cleared it off. But watch how to do that on my last video. That's fun. And then let's do some lacy bits and things. So I did, I don't know if any of you have got this sort of this mesh kind of stuff that you use in mixed media stuff. That's quite fun to use. And then I've got a bit of lace here, so I'm just going to trim that off a bit because I don't need all of it. Yep, there we go. So I've got here. So you can paint on these, you can paint them directly with the paints, or you can use the sprays. So we're going to use the sprays. So I'm just going to do, obviously it's quick coverage then if you use the sprays. So let's do the yellow on there, really nice. And then let's do this turquoise wave. And then what you could, if you were using the paints directly, actually if I do another bit here, oh, I know I said I didn't need my palette. I need to put those on so that you can see them. So there and there. So once they dry, obviously they'll be fine, and then just give them a blast with your heat gun to set them. You know, so they become permanent then. So let me just get my paints back out here. So we've got the coloured paint that we had here, and then I'm going to add a glitter to them. So I'm going to use Silver Shine again. So let's do that, and then get the paintbrush. Just clean that off. There we Okay, so we're going to mix the glitter with the paint, and I would say for this probably 2 to 1 paint to glitter. Again, completely personal choice. So that's that one. Let me just mix up another colour, so we've got 2 to go with. Do that. That should be about 2 to 1. Yeah. Obviously you can have a play. That is shiny ribbon I'm using, Mum. It's like a, because it's that cheap lace stuff you get from like Poundland or something. So it is shiny already. Yeah, but it sticks to it. I can grab, what you mean, like the satin stuff? Let me just grab something. Satin ribbon. Oh. I've got all my ribbons are all neatly done like this, and I don't use them as often as I should. I've got so many ribbons. Oh, where's my scissors gone? There we go. Okay, right, satin ribbon, that's what you're after, Mum, yes? Okay. Don't eat your nails, it helps. Okay. Right, so we've got a bit of that lace and a bit of the ribbon. So let's do the colour straight on here. So obviously you could put on a little bit and then you can spray it with water, and that would help it soak in, and it would make the colours blend better and all things like that. So but yeah, you're literally just painting it on. You can see it's a lot quicker doing it with the sprays, but then you'll need to, you could add the glitter afterwards. You could always leave that to dry and add the glitter. Well, you could do it while it's wet and add the glitters to it. But what you will find with this one, because we've added the glitters, we'll hold it up, you'll be able to see, is you get a sparkle in there, and I just think it's really pretty. I did my apron using that, and it's really lovely. So right, let's do this one here. Go. So as you can see, that's going on really well, Mum. I wasn't sure myself actually with this kind of ribbon, but I was pretty sure it was going to work. But just for the sake of proving it. Oh gosh, yes, that would make some really lovely. Imagine your Christmas bows you could make if you've got any of this cream ribbon. You know, and you're thinking you like doing your Christmas bows even on your Christmas tree or on Christmas presents, things like that, of pre-colouring it, and you get this glittery, you get a nice glittery finish. And then, like I say, just blast it with a heat gun, or because it's ribbon, what you could do if you've got an iron. We don't use irons in this house, but we do have one. You could obviously iron it, and that would heat set it. So let it dry and then iron it, and that would heat. That would mean that would be completely permanent. That's not going to come off on anything, and you can wash it then as well. Yeah? Okay, right. I was quite excited about that ribbon. Thanks for that, Mum. I enjoyed that. Yes, colour it red, yeah. Should we do a red one just for the fun of it? Just because we can. Right, I've got lots of green on here though, haven't I? So I need a bit of paper that isn't green. Let's put those bits to one side so they can dry. And then get the So let's use a strawberry fire. I need to clean off some of this colour here. Got some. You can see you don't need a lot of paint for these, just use the paint that you need for your project. Don't squat out loads like I did and then not need it all. So let's do that. Let's do it with the gold sparkle, shall we? Yeah, sunlight gold. Let's do that one. Oh, the other side of the ribbon. Yes, I can. Yep. So the other side of the ribbon has just got the colour, but not the glitter. So as that dries, that will seep in. Yeah. So yeah, it was. It's obviously going to go straight through. That's all right, wasn't it? So can you all see that? So we've got a 2 to 1 on that, so we can mix literally the whole lot together. Oh, this is going to look so pretty. Oh, I'm liking this colour. I'm liking this. I'm liking it. Okay. Obviously, if you're doing a lot of ribbon, maybe use a bigger paintbrush, but I'm just using the one I've been using for this one. You can obviously use these paints as an ink, an ink pad for stamping as well. So if you obviously you need to make sure you clean your stamp straight away afterwards, but there's no reason why you couldn't stamp onto your ribbon. You can stamp your Merry Christmas across this, even with your VersaFine, because that would be permanent once it's dry. Oh. Wow. Isn't it funny? I had all this planned and then I've just, yeah. How pretty will that be for Christmas? Making your little bows and stuff. Obviously that's going to seep through to the other side eventually. But you won't have the glitter on both sides. Obviously you could wait for it to dry and flip it over and repaint the other side too if you wanted to. But I would say wait till it dries and see if you like the effect or not before you go through and do it. Obviously, if you wanted the colour to seep through even more than it probably, if you're using quite thick, expensive ribbon, dampen it first, and then it will help it soak in. But I really like that. I hope that shows up on there. I really like that gold. It's pretty. Good suggestion, Mummy. Good suggestion. Excellent. Right. Okay. So I lost my bit of loo roll to clean my brush off. Okay, so I think we've got all the techniques of the paint down now. One thing I wanted to show, I did, obviously I'm sure your mixed media pieces would look far better than this. I didn't have enough time to do a lot on it, but I wanted to show sort of using the sprays on and the bits and pieces on a mixed media canvas you were doing. So all I did was use texture paste through a stencil, and these bricks are literally cut up cardboard, but I think they look quite cool. But obviously you'd use your ink sprays that you've got for doing let me get my tray again, for doing these kind of things, but obviously you could use these sprays for it, so you can have a bit of fun with it. I'm getting absolutely covered in paint spray today for some reason. And then obviously your usual, if you wanted to, you can water them down. Spray it out a little bit. Let's put in a little bit of pink. I haven't used the pink one today, have it? Oh no, that's definitely hot pink. See if this one will come out. No. Okay, we'll use it as a flick, that's fine. Would you add glitter to the paint in the water bottle, or would that clog? No, it would clog the spray. I did create one with the glitter, and it doesn't work. Yeah. By all means, if you find a way of making it work, let me know, but I couldn't get it to work. The same as the as you saw with that warm mulberry one, it doesn't give a very nice colour. It's the ones that are like silver, tarnished silver. The graphite noir doesn't work. You have to have a lot of paint in there to actually get a black spray. I did create one. It just keeps going grey. You can't. It doesn't give you a nice black spray. It's not the right one for that. But obviously, if you like the colour, it gives you. Oh, look at that pink in it. Wonderful. So I'm just going to do, to accent that pink, do a bit of pink on there. See, when I start playing with mixed media, I'll start getting carried away. But you can see where you can go with this, and then obviously you can add in your other sprays as well, sort of thing. But I just wanted you to see this, not all just about card making, things like that. If you do the really big mixed media stuff, or you're not sure where to start with it, and you think, oh, I don't want to buy all the expensive spray bottle, you know, the expensive ink bottles and things to do that, you could do it with these paints, and you'll end up with a great shimmer on it because of these paints. So I'll take, once this is dried, I'll take a picture and I'll show you on my page, so you'll be able to see that. I had something else in my head I thought I was going to show you then, but I didn't. I think we've gone through all of the paints. Yes, we want to see if our little seahorse is dry, don't we? Oh, that was the other thing I was going to show you. So I remembered now. I remembered. So I did, because I wasn't sure if I was going to do more of this. So I did some of the mesh stuff I did earlier. So this is it dry. So this is the pink and green. So you can obviously sort of cut it now, or however you know, do your bit that you want to use, and then tear it. And it's really great for doing like adding texture to things, you know, and obviously stick it down however you want to do. And then I had some of these like dried flower stuff that come it looks like that. That was, yeah, dried flowers. This from Anna Marie, these ones, but and then I painted those in different colours, and I thought those would be quite nice for things as well. So you can sort of colour code everything that you're doing, whatever project you're doing, because you can use the paints on anything. Obviously I gessoed this first before I sprayed it because it's just cardboard underneath, but you can do whatever you want with it. I did a nice one with the turquoise there as well, which is quite nice. There, I thought might be quite nice with some kind of feature on there, some kind of stamp would be lovely. So yeah, let me put that to one side then. And then the other thing I did was just, I have to excuse my dreadful painting because it was awful, but it was to show you that you could use them just as normal painting, you know, like water. So it's almost a mix between the watercolour and the acrylics. I think I've said this before. So I used it as a watercolour for the background, and then went in neat to do the detail, and I just literally used two colours for that to do that. And it was so you can use it for just a normal painting. It doesn't have to be you know, to colour in things, as it were, if that's the kind of thing you like doing. And of course you get a great shimmer on it, which is lovely. And sometimes I did a picture for Sheila, I don't know if she's still on here, for Christmas last year, and I did Sadness from Inside Out, and I did most of it in plain acrylics, but then because she's sort of shimmery round her outside, I used the Atlantic blue as the shimmer around the outside of her, and it just gave that extra depth to it. So I was really pleased with that. It turned out really well. Okay, right, so I think that's all for the paints. If you've got any questions, pop me any messages for the paints. Lots of tips on it. Lovely, thank you, Josephine. Josephine, I haven't seen your sister for a while, Josephine. Not sure. Hope she's okay. Send her our love. So I'm going to do a Christmas card. So I need to clean my hands. But I will show you 2 seconds once I clean my hands, because I don't want to touch the card while I've got paint all over my fingers. You know what I'm like, fingerprints everywhere. Well, actually it's cat. If you saw the last video, there was the cat on there. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Josephine. I hope she gets better soon. Send her all our love. If you miss her. Okay. Right, so, thank you. So I did a really quick Christmas card. Hopefully you can see that, and you can see the glitter on it. So this literally took me, I say this now, and then because I'm explaining to you, it's going to take me longer. But it took me 10 minutes from start to finish. Obviously, it's going to take me a bit longer this time because I'm going to talk you through it. But, yeah, hopefully that's something that you might like to do. So this is one of the dinkies, that's number 31. But although I haven't mounted these ones on cards, I did these two as well. So this one is the wren dinky, and I turned him into a robin. And then this one is just the watering can, and I used some of that the pink ink fluffy stuff, and sprinkled glitter on there before I heat set it, and so you get the glitter on the snow. So it's just showing that you can use any of the stamps and make them Christmassy just by adding a bit of snow or glitter, which is maybe, you know, what you can do with any of your stamps. But this one in particular I did like, and I thought I would share this one with you. So the words I've used, same ones I did the other week. So very neatly put away. So it's the Happy Christmas from Woodware collection. And you get quite nice greetings there, because they're straight, they're nice. I do like things like that sometimes. But you can see the other ones that I used. That one's obviously from Pink Ink themselves. So that is from the one with the truck on it. I can't think what it's called at this particular moment. What have we done with it? Happy Ho Ho Ho. So the one with the truck with the Christmas tree on it. And these words I actually got from a magazine that I picked up yesterday, which is that set there. So I think it was a Creative Stamping magazine. If you wanted it, it came with a load of Christmas stamps, and I really like the words. I've literally bought that just for the words, which happens sometimes. Need to have a drinky. Right. So let's crack on with this one. So I have pre-stamped my... Oh, just put that across that paper. Right, never mind. Pre-stamp the words on first. I would recommend doing this because if you're doing any kind of watercolour on it at all, it will warp a little bit and make it harder to stamp your words. And if you want them straight, to obviously stamp them first. So have a play. Best thing to do when you're doing Christmas cards is have a play first, and then once you've decided, because you normally have to make quite a few, is to, you know, sort of work out where you're going to lay those things out first. So I've stamped the words first. This card size is 5x5, and I did it on, it's a 5.5 by 5.5 square card. Obviously it'll work on a 6-inch card or whatever, you know, however you want to size it up, sort of thing. And the gold card I've put behind it is 5.25, and then obviously the card blank is 5.5. So yeah, so I just did it, so it's a small one, but would be nice. So to create the bit, the sort of curve that it's going to sit in, that's literally copier paper. So I just grab a bit of copier paper and get our pair of scissors, and we're going to go like that across the bottom, as hard as that. Okay. And then we're going to line it up, so we want the curve to be in the middle, because we want it to look like it's in a little snowdrift. That's how it would be. And then, because we're not going to ink all the way to the sides, we're just going to use a bit of washi tape just to hold it in place. I did try this with the low tack double-sided tape, but it kept tearing my card because it's watercolour card. I didn't like it very much. So I thought I'd do washi tape and that would work out better. So I get my little stamping platform and my little I will put snow on this, Josephine, so you can see. I'll do a mixture of the two. Yeah. So this is number 31 of the Dinkies, but obviously if you've got any other little house stamps or little fairy house stamps, it works with any of those that you've got. Oh, I lost my pad. There it is. Going to use VersaFine as always, and just going to good ink. And then what we want to do is just cut off just the bottom of it, just so that it looks like it's behind the snow. So excuse my head because you're going to see it. Maybe not. Might be right. And then I'm just going to put that in the centre there. There we go. Okay, so we're happy with that. And then I have created a mask already, because I'm going to be doing the background for this. I've done using blending inks, so I wanted a mask that wasn't going to lift up, so I haven't used my normal post-it. I've used the Cricut transfer tape, that stuff. But obviously there are other transfer tapes available, sort of thing, but basically something that's sticky all the way over but is low tack. So and again, I have shown the best way to do this the other day, or on one of my previous videos, but what I found, rather than trying to stamp on the shiny stuff, stamp it on either a bit of copier paper or on a post-it, and then put your sticky stuff over the top of it and then cut it out. And what you'll find is that it's not going to smudge, and you will end up with, where have I put them? With another post-it note afterwards. So you've got 2 for 1 on your mask. So yeah, so that's how I do that. So I'm just going to flip it over, and then we are going to do some colour. So I'm using VersaCraft, so I've got lemon, yellow and red poppy, and I need a dry baby wipe, which I don't know, where have I put all my dry ones? I had a dry one a minute ago. Get that one. I save these now because I do find that I use them quite a bit afterwards. It's just, so you might, if you think you go through these for cleaning and stuff, I know I shouldn't really, but they are good for doing this kind of thing, especially if you're making a lot of a lot of Christmas cards. So I've just folded it over a few times, just so that I don't get ink on my fingers. That's all. You don't have to do that, but I did find I was getting ink on my fingers. What I did find, if you want to use obviously more of it, if you've got any of your rubber gloves, you know, the disposable rubber gloves, just cut off the fingers, and you can use those each time, and that protects your fingers too, which is quite fun. Right, so I want barely any ink on there at all, and I'm just going to lightly go around the edge, sort of creating a bit like a halo around it with the yellow, just so it looks like the sun's behind it, that's all. This is obviously, if you've seen this before, this is because it's the same technique that Cardio uses when they do a lot of their Christmas cards, and I just find it's a really quick way of adding a bit of a Christmassy scene. So I've got, actually I might put a bit more deeper yellow on the bottom, I think. There we go, and then get my poppy red. I need a tiny bit of the red, but you know, even if you think you've got not very much on there, you've always got loads. So we just want a little hue, that's all. Show the red on there, just behind the main feature. There we go. Okay, so we can now peel that back. I'll just take that bit off. And then my tweezers, where my tweezers have gone. We're just going to peel that mask gently back. There we go. And that creates a really pretty sort of sunlight glow behind it. As you can see, I didn't quite cut the bottom of the thing off with the mask, so the fluffy stuff will cover that anyway, so that's what we're going to do. To colour it, now, like I said, because this is going to be a quick card, so I'm not going to use my intense pencils. I am going to use the Zig Clean Colour, if I can remember where I put them. Oh, there they are. Put stuff accessible and then not done it. So it's these ones, Zig Clean Colour brush pens. If you've got any other watercolour pens, brush markers or anything, they will work just the same. So let's get out the colours that I need for this. I need a green, I need a light brown. Oh, excuse me. And the crackers. There we go. Okay, so let's start with the roof. So the roof, I'm going to use carmine red and bright yellow, although it's more an orange. So like I say, these have got a brush tip on them, which is really pretty. Gives you lots of fine work that you can do with them. Just going around the edge of the bottom part of the mushroom. It's going to be 270. All dry all of a sudden. And then I'm going to use the orange and I'm going to work from the red up. Trying to avoid that little leaf because I'm going to colour that in orange in a minute, but I'm not worrying about the little knobbly bits. So if you wanted it more red, obviously go further up with your red, but I quite like the tinge of the orange on the top. And then we've got a couple of other little mushrooms here that we need to do red too. There we go. And then I want to give it a red door as well. So I want this to be mainly red, that's the door. So I'm going to cover almost about half of it. And then use the orange to blend out. Rather than using just one colour, I think sometimes using the two colours just adds that little bit extra to it. Look, oh, it looks so pretty. Excellent. Okay, so that's the reds done. So now let's do the actual main part of it. So I'm going to use a water brush to help blend this out on this one. So I've got my dark brown. Yeah, it's brown, and then this one is beige. And then we're going to do where the shadows would be. So I don't want much of this. A bit around the edges and around the door, that little door bit there. And this would be quite dark behind it because it's another part of the building. And of course the little roof bits there. So I'm using the beige for the chimney, so this is going to be quite a neat colour, and so will the background bit be. But this main section, I want it just to feather the edges out like that. And then while it's still wet, I'm going to use my water brush and I'm just going to feather that to the rest of it, so it leaves a little bit of light in your picture. Give a bit of hint, just so it's a hint of colour rather than the whole thing's coloured. And then the greys, so I've got a blue grey and light grey. So the blue grey is the darker grey. So again, where the shadows are under the mushroom, and we'll add in these little frames here for the windows and under the steps there, and then the lighter grey to blend it out. So once you've done a few of these, you'll get quicker and quicker with them. you can do in a bit of a production line, which is always fun. And then we've got our yellow to just do the little lamp on the front, and the yellow in the windows because we want a little bit of light in the windows, and then our green just for the little leaves. I hope some of you have got this stamp and will be able to try it, but you can see, you know, with other stamps it will come through. And then I would let that dry and then add in your you know, your little white accents sort of thing, but I'll give it a quick blast first. That should help a little bit. There we go. Okay, because you will find with these Zig pens that the whites tend to blend in, but they just give you a little bit anyway. So I've just got a little gel pen here. I can get it to work. Do you want to play? No, it doesn't want to play. Let me grab it. Yeah, that one wants to play. Okay, so I'm just going to put in some white highlights here. Obviously I'm going to cover these in glitter and snow and everything, but it's just in case you don't want snow on everything. Well, you might want snow on everything, but you don't have to have snow on everything. But these will just add your little highlights anyway that your snow might miss, like around the doors, on the top of the stairs, on the mushrooms perhaps, because snow wouldn't necessarily sit on the mushrooms. There you go. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. Right, so Fluff It stuff. Where's my Fluff It stuff come? Right, so it comes in a little tub like this. I know you can get, obviously there's lots of other versions of fluffy snow paste or whatever. They normally come in the squishy bottles, which obviously is sort of precision, but because this is in a pot, you can apply it with a paintbrush or with your finger or with a palette knife or however you want to use it. I am going to do with a brush. There's a brush on I'm using it with, that one. So I was going to put a bit in the lid just so I've got some to use. You can see that. Yep, there we go. Okay, I'm just making sure you can see. Right, so I've got a fair amount on my brush because I want to create the stipply snow. And bear in mind the shape of my brush is not ideal for this, I apologise, but it will give me the same effect, no doubt. So I just want that to be this. Maybe add a little bit extras on the corners because, like I say, it's going to look like it's in a snowdrift. A little bit more there. So let's put some on the top. Might have some coming down like that. Maybe on the top of the chimneys. This brush really isn't ideal for this. I would recommend a pointed brush for doing this rather than the one that I'm using, but never mind. Maybe a little bit on the tops there. So basically you want a stippled texture to give you the fluff bit, because those will be the bits that will fluff out. Let's do a little bit on the steps there, I think. You're probably going to have some on the steps, aren't you? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's take a brush and some water. Give it a wash. Yeah, mate, don't use your best brushes. You know, give it. Make sure you give them a good clean first. Right, now before I want to, before I'm going to heat set that, I'm going to put some glitter on it. So I think that adds to it. So this is just Glamour Dust glitter, so it's really fine, sort of a pearlescent glitter. So I'm just going to put that all over there, and that's obviously going to stick to the Fluff It stuff anyway because it's still wet. So I'll put that back in the pot. we can heat it. Let's get that nice and warm. Oh, come on, heat gun. There we go. Oh, I think I might need a new heat gun. There we go. Right, so it's just starting to turn. Oh, my fingers, hope you can see it. Oh, that was really hot for some reason. So this takes longer to puff up than like embossing powder would. But once you see it puffing, just move along like you do with the embossing powder. But it's the same technique. You wait, once it starts going, you move along. There we go. So yeah, gives you a so you've got your fluffy stuff there, and then you can add your normal glitter. So I am going to use a quick glue pen for this. And I'm just going to fill in some of those little bits that we didn't get with the snow. So a bit around the edge there, but this is all just going to add to it. Be a little bit around the windows and the doors, and then of course we can't forget the snow coming down. You can go right up into the words for this if you want to, wherever you like to go. And obviously when I did the bottom part of this one, if you didn't have the fluffy stuff, you just wanted the normal snow, all I did was just drew lines as if it was like the top of snow peaks with a glue pen. And then let's get our thing back again. And that's it there. I just think that's a really pretty way of using other stamps and making them Christmassy just by putting them in a little snow scene. Yeah, I think that's really nice. So as you can see, that technique with the other cards that I showed you at first, so the obviously the robin, I'd created the same mask and then went round him with the yellow and then coloured him in the same, and then glittery dots. You can see that. And then this one, obviously using the fluffy stuff, and it goes quite hard. And this is, it can become permanent once washed as well. Like when it's washed as well, there are instructions on the side of it. I don't use it on fabric, but it can be used on fabric. So if you were creating, I don't know, Christmas gifts for people, and you were creating, like the canvas bags with stuff, and you wanted the snow on it, it will work. But like I say, the instructions are on the side. And then, obviously the same way using that. So you can see sort of with 3 different stamps there that aren't Christmassy stamps, you can create other bits. And then all I did, like I say, was mount it onto a bit of gold card. My usual is black, but at Christmas we have shiny card, and it just sets it off even more, I think. So yeah. Right, so that's it from me for this time. I hope to sneak in another one before Christmas, because it's Christmas and all that, and I'm sure everyone would like to see some other inspirational Christmas cards if you're getting stuck. Yeah, I think that's it. So as usual, like the video, like my page, share with everyone. Yeah, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you very much. Bye bye.